Good day, awesome patrons. I hope you're doing well. In this video, I will be painting on rough grain watercolor paper, which if I had to choose a favorite paper, it would be that one. I think it's perfect for loose painting, which is half of what I'm going to be doing here. The goal for this painting was to create something loose and incorporate doodling in the mix. I'm not sure it was 100% successful, but I mean, I do like the painting. There are things that I would do differently, but that's part of growing, so I don't mind that. I'm going to start by creating an area with clean water. Well, as clean as as you can see, my jar on the right is a little bit tinted with green, but that's okay, it's clean-ish. So I have this area of water that I created for the grass or the ground, and I'm going to start dropping greens. I will be listing all the supplies that I've used, but just to situate you, I started with greenish yellow, then I used a bit of olive green and hooker's green for the grass. And in case I probably forgot to tell you, this is a fall scene. You've probably noticed by the thumbnail, because here, believe it or not, at night it has started getting a little bit cooler, so the trees are already starting to turn. And instead of being negative about it, because I really don't like what's coming, I know winter's coming, I decided to illustrate it with fun, happy colors. And the paint I'm using is Magelo Gold Mission. So because I have a very large wet spot, it's fun to be able to drop colors here and there to create different values of greens, and you can just play around. As long as it's wet, you can drop in color and see them merge together. That's always been the fun. And then I'm going to start putting in the trees. Now for the trees, I used burnt sienna and light red, as well as a bit of green eventually. I'm using my brush, but it's almost dry. I still have paint on it, but there's less water. And I really love this effect on rough grain because of the texture of the paper. And especially if you use the side of your brush, it kind of skips over the bumps and it creates this beautiful paint white kind of scheme, which is awesome if you're painting loosely, especially for trees. Trees are not 100% opaque. You can see the light shining through them, the foliage, I mean. Although my trees ended up being quite full, but some parts of it I still have a bit of white inside of them. Now, as far as the composition is concerned, it's kind of like very easy. In the way I usually work is I work with uneven numbers, like odd numbers. So I have 5 painted trees, and then I'm going to be adding at first 3 doodle trees, and then eventually I'll be adding 2 more, but I still have 9 instead of like an even number. So the trees, as long as the paints are still wet, you can still drop in a bit of color and it'll merge together, which I think is pretty cool. It's perfect for a fall scene. And yeah, I'm just going to continue painting, and I'll be back when it's time to doodle. Once the painting was dry, I used a pencil to create outlines for the trees that I wanted to doodle in. And this is a new pen I found, which is entirely waterproof, not just permanent, but waterproof. It's a rollerball pen. It's made by Uniball, and the tip is quite fine. It's not as fine as the Muji pen, but it's a close second. The only drawback to this pen is that sometimes it has a tendency to skip. But because I was doodling over rough grain, it didn't really matter, because obviously the pen will skip anyways because of the texture of the paper. And I do apologize for the unfocused doodling. It kind of focuses on my hands because my camera is close, the shot is close up. I'm trying to find a good setup so that I can show you a side view, but I completely forgot to take some footage with my phone. So my apologies. As part of your rewards, actually it's a $2 level reward, but obviously you will get it too. It'll just come under a separate post, but I will include kind of like a page full of different tree doodling that you can use in your own artwork. The one that I'm doing right now, although I like it, I feel that it looks out of place. First of all, the trunk has a double line, which none of my other trees do. And I don't know, it just feels different. It's not as fluid as the other ones. So that would probably be the one thing that I would change about this painting, and you'll see once it's finished. I don't know, to me it just sticks out like a sore thumb, even though I do love the painting. as a last minute decision, I decided to add 2 more trees, and this time I added dots to them. I think it helped the composition. I do love the dots, but again, I think it's the tree to the right that really is bothering me. And the pen that I'm using was a bit difficult because it skips. It was difficult to make tiny dots, so I decided to go with for the micro perm. This is a felt tip, however, but it's the 05 size, so it's quite large. It was very helpful to do the larger dots and also the small dots. I just needed to barely touch the paper and I was able to do them. So you kind of have to have a good arsenal of pens in your stash if you're a heavy doodler like I am. And pens are not that expensive anyway, so you know, if there's one thing I would encourage you to splurge on, it's markers. Make sure though that, especially for this painting, make sure that they are waterproof, because when I do something like this, I'm never sure whether I'm going to add more paint, and I ended up doing that. What I'm doing right now is adding a little bit of contrast to separate the trees from the ground, and yeah, just to help the composition, because those 2 little shrubs are kind of like fused to the grass. There's not much delimitation. I was successful-ish, but I added too much water on the tree on the left-hand side, so that dark green kept creeping up. But to rectify that, I would dry my brush a little bit and then pick up some of that paint that kept going up, and eventually I got it under control. But the green, yeah, I'm gonna keep it mainly at the bottom of the trees, kind of like pretending that the light comes from up top. So obviously the trees would be darker and they would be greener because there's less sun attacking them, kind of thing. I don't know if that's how it works, but in my eyes and in my mind, it does. Here's where this rough grain paper shines. I love how I was able to create shading under the trees, but in a kind of like a patchy effect. And because I'm using the side of my brush, it just skips over the bumps, and I just love this effect so much. I'm sure you saw this coming. Gold. I'm not sure that it helped the overall painting all that much. It was just purely to please myself, really. I'm not sure. What I'm trying to say is I'm not sure if it's the correct thing to do with this painting. I think I would have preferred without the dots, but I couldn't help myself. And I'm just applying them on the doodled trees, just randomly here and there. And this is Kramer's Pale Gold. I will put the link as to where you can get that paint, because I do get a lot of questions about this paint. I know on YouTube people keep asking me, where do you get that gold? It's not a super yellow gold, it's a pale gold, as it says, and it's just a perfect shade for me. And that's pretty much it. The painting is done. I have to tell you that these past 2 weeks, I want to say, I have struggled creatively. I have done many renditions of not only this painting but other ones, and I did not like the outcome, so I've been trying to film this video for 2 weeks for you guys. That's basically it, but I like this one. I hope you've liked it too. Like I said, I will include examples of other types of doodling you can do for trees, different styles, completely, you know, some more of that style, some completely different. So I hope that you will enjoy creating your own fall scene with them. If you do, why don't you post some photos in the community? That way I can see them and other members as well can see them, and we can have like a little chit chat and stuff. So I, again, thank you very much for your support. You guys are awesome. I know that we keep getting new members here, and it means that we're on the right track. So we're going to keep on going. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your awesomeness, and I will see you soon.